Our top story this half hour, you may cheer, you may clap, you may jump for joy, but how do Olympic trainers watch the races of the athletes they train? Just a moment, we're going to hear from two people who have some first-hand experience. Right now, though, 14 minutes after 8 o'clock on the early edition, millions of people around the world, of course, watching the London Olympics. Many will keep track of the scores and the standout performances, but trainers of Olympic athletes will pay attention to the smallest details, down to an athlete's every move. Jane LaBreche and Kurt Innes are two such trainers. They both work with the Canadian Sports Centre Pacific. And Jane is a physiologist. Kurt is the director of talent development, and both of them join us on the line this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Kurt, to you first. What does your center do to help athletes actually prepare for the Olympics?
Yeah, we're really to look at it in a global way, Steve. We're the team behind the team, so the pit crew that's helping our athletes and the coaches get ready for the games. And as you already let in, the smallest details from what the athletes are eating in between races to how they're performing and preparing for the races from a physiology perspective.
And what's it like for you to see such a strong BC contingent at this year's games? What, 40% of the Canadian delegation is from BC?
Yeah, approximately 110 athletes out of the 277. Steve, you're absolutely right. You know, a lot of pride from our end, and again, the team behind the team just getting the athletes ready to perform on their day on the world stage. We have a lot of pride and sense of accomplishment in having these athletes get ready for their show.
Something about our outdoorsy lifestyle here, I suppose.
It doesn't hurt, that's for sure.
Jane, as a physiologist, tell me about the kind of work you do with athletes.
Yeah, I actually work mostly in terms of optimizing their training, so for preparing the athletes for their performance. So I do a lot of monitoring in a daily training environment, as well as providing some support in training camps when we travel to do a training camp in another part of the world, and then as well into competition. So I provide some feedback in terms of some actual results and data that I can give to the coaches and athletes, so they can use that to assess where they're at in training and make, again, those small changes that they can use towards adjusting for preparing for their ultimate performance at the Olympics.
And do you work with a particular sport or all athletes?
Yeah, I do. We are assigned to multiple sports when we work through the Sports Centre, but my key focus was with the swimmers at the Olympics this year.
And Jane, tell me about your watching routine then. I mean, how different is it when you watch TV compared to when I watch TV?
Yeah, for me, well, in terms of the swimmers, I get very nervous for them, actually. And when I'm watching, I tend to I talk through the entire race, because I know where they're supposed to be during the race, and I know their strengths and weaknesses, so I know what parts of the race they're going to do really well, and I know what parts they need to really focus on. And if they can be really good at one part of the race, I know that they've got a potential for a medal. For someone in terms of Brent, we know that he's really good at coming back on his second 50, so I really look to make sure that when he goes out at the beginning, like, his start is really important, and his turn is really important, as well as the touch. So some of those small things I really key in on to make sure that when I'm watching, I know where he's at and know where he's going to end up. Yeah. I'm
going to guess you yell at the television.
I do, absolutely, yeah, and I actually give a play-by-play, whether there's someone in the room or not. I'm usually talking my way through the entire race. As soon as he dives in, the worst part is when he's underwater, because you can't tell where he is. So as soon as he surfaces, I'm talking about, oh, okay, he's right in there. Okay, he needs to stay with the first three guys. He's looking good. And then when he goes into the turn, I'm yelling, get into that turn, attack that turn. So we know he has to accelerate through his rotation and come up again fast. And then at the finish, I'm usually yelling, kick, 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 to get into the wall. So it's probably comical watching with me anyway.
And you know he can't hear you, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I feel that he might feel my energy from over here in Canada. So.
It sounds like he would by the sounds of things. Now, Kurt, what about you? Does this all sound eerily familiar to you?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I've been in the same shoes many, many times. I think the fun part for us, again, as Jane said, is just knowing the athletes personally, knowing the amount of tremendous work that they've put in to get them to this point. It's not just a week or a 2-week period. Most of these athletes and our support staff have worked together for multiple years, and for Jane and the swimmers and some of the work that our teams are doing with rowing and the track cycling team, it's built on years and years and years of routine. So you get to know these athletes so well, and you just wish that they could pull it all together because you've seen the amazing performances in practice and in some of the other events. So you just hope that they can bring their A game to the big show, like an athlete like Brent did, or Ryan Cochran, and some of our women on the team pursuit team that won the bronze medal. Like, those are the performances that you just know are there, and you just hope that they're able to express it on the day at the Olympics.
Kurt, you work in talent development, and we've had several conversations on this program and others about many of the Chinese athletes and the outstanding performances that are on display by them at these Olympics. But then we also hear about what training is like and how they're identified at the age of, say, 3 or 4 as having potential taken away from their families, and their life is training. How do we compete against that in Canada?
Well, the first thing, Steve, I think is really important is we're a country of 33 million odd people. So right there, it's a numbers game for us. You've already expressed this earlier. We've got some great pockets of athletes and coaches, and when those two ingredients come together, good athletes, which we have, great athletes, which we have, and great coaches, then we have a fighting chance. So athletes like Ryan Cochran and Brent Hayden have been identified relatively early, but they've come through other sports. And then they've found their way in the sport of swimming. What we're trying to do in Canada, and it's not like what they're doing in China. We don't have the opportunity where we've got 10 times the population. We have to hopefully, through great communication and really strong partnerships, identify athletes who have performed in other sports, perhaps up to a regional or provincial level, and then allow them to express their potential in another sport. So a sport like track cycling is a great example. Tara Whitten already won 1 medal. She's coming from a cross-country skiing background. Other athletes are similarly positioned where they've actually got to a really high level in another sport, but then they found their way. So Duff Gibson in the sport of skeleton as an example.
Right.
So that's our sort of where we're trying to really zero in, is through strong partnerships and really great communication, trying to get athletes to find their way in sports rather than having 300 million athletes to mine from. So we just have to be better and smarter in other aspects.
It is great to hear from both of you this morning. Thank you both so much, and enjoy the rest of the games.
Great.
Thank you.
You take care. Bye-bye now. Kurt Innes, Director of Talent Development with the Canadian Sports Centre Pacific. He's based in Victoria. Jane LaBreche, an exercise physiologist at the centre. She's based in Vancouver. 21 minutes after 8 o'clock on the early edition on CBC Radio One. Chasera's here with traffic.